Your great-grandparents mastered these trades by the age of 15. Most have disappeared entirely. There was a time in America, and it was really not so very long ago, when nearly every town in the country hummed and rang with the sound of skilled hands at work. These were the trades, passed carefully from master to apprentices, over years of patient labor. The crafts that clothed, fed, housed, and equipped an entire growing nation. A young person might begin learning one of these trades as a child and be a true master of it by adulthood. And then, over the course of a single century, came mass production, the factory, cheap imported goods, plastic, and the throwaway economy. And one by one, these proud old trades faded into history. The men and women who practiced them are very nearly all gone now, and their hard-won skills are vanishing right along with them. These are the dying American crafts that once held the whole country together. First, the blacksmith. Once the literal beating heart of every community, large or small, the blacksmith forged and mended the iron that the entire civilization ran upon. He made and repaired the tools, the hardware, the wagon wheel rims, the horseshoes, and 1,000 other everyday items that no one could do without. When factories began stamping out cheap metal goods by the millions, the indispensable village smith slowly faded away. And a craft that had existed, in one form or another, for thousands of years, nearly fell completely silent. Second, the cooper. This is a trade so thoroughly vanished that most people today have never even heard the name. A cooper made barrels, casks, and buckets, which were, in their time, the shipping containers of the entire world. With remarkable skill, he shaped and fitted curved wooden staves and bound them with tight hoops, creating vessels so precise they could hold liquid without leaking a drop for years. Everything from flour to nails to whiskey traveled and was stored in a cooper's barrels. The arrival of the cardboard box and the steel drum erased this ancient and essential trade almost entirely. Third, the wheelwright. Building a wooden wagon wheel by hand was a craft of genuinely astonishing precision, one that combined fine woodworking and skilled metalworking into a single object. The wheelwright shaped the central hub, fitted the radiating spokes, and formed the curved rim segments. And then, he shrank a band of red-hot iron around the whole thing as a tire, which cooled and tightened to bind the entire wheel into one strong, unified piece, capable of carrying crushing loads over rough roads for years. The coming of the automobile ended this skilled trade within a single generation. Fourth, the cobbler, the shoemaker, and shoe repairer. People once owned only a few precious pairs of shoes and expected to keep and wear them for many years, and the cobbler was the man who made that possible. He repaired worn soles and heels. He restitched failing seams, and he rebuilt shoes that we today would simply throw in the trash. When shoes eventually became cheap, mass-produced, and disposable, the entire idea of repairing them faded from the culture, and the once common neighborhood shoe repair shop became a genuine rarity. Fifth, the tinsmith. Working patiently with sheets of tin by hand, the tinsmith fashioned the lanterns, the cups, the pails, the funnels, the cookware, and the countless other small household items that filled an ordinary American home. It was skilled, detailed, careful metalwork, and it furnished the daily life of millions of families before stamped and molded factory goods made the whole trade obsolete and unnecessary. Sixth, the harness and saddle maker. In a world that quite literally ran on real horsepower, the leather worker who made and repaired the harness, the saddles, and all the related tack was utterly essential to both transportation and farming. It was heavy, exacting, demanding work with leather, requiring great skill and strength. And when the gasoline engine finally replaced the horse on the farm and the road, the steady demand that had supported this craft for centuries all but completely vanished. Seventh, The miller. The miller ground the community's grain into the flour and the meal that fed everyone, harnessing the power of falling water or blowing wind to turn enormous heavy millstones. He judged, by feel and by eye and by long experience, the exact grind that each different type of grain required. The old grist mill was once a true center of town life, a gathering place as much as a workplace. The rise of giant industrial flour milling swept the local miller and his mill almost entirely away. Eighth, the chandler, the maker of candles and soap. Before the electric light pushed back the darkness, someone had to make the candles that lit the long nights, and someone had to make the soap that kept a household and its people clean. The chandler rendered animal tallow and worked carefully with dangerous lye in a craft that was equal parts patient chemistry and hard physical labor. Cheap, mass-manufactured candles, kerosene lamps, and bar soaps eventually brought this old and necessary trade to its end. Ninth, the typesetter and the letterpress printer. For centuries, the printed word, every book, every newspaper, every poster, was assembled one single tiny metal letter at a time, entirely by hand, by skilled compositors who could read a full tray of type upside down and backwards at a single practiced glance. It was the craft that literally spread knowledge and literacy across the world. The arrival of digital printing made the old hot metal trade very nearly extinct within living memory, a stunningly fast end for a craft that had endured for so long. 10th, the broom maker and the basket weaver. Humble but genuinely essential, these crafts took simple raw materials, broom corn and split wood or woven reed, and turned them into the everyday objects that every single household on Earth needed. A well-made basket that would last for decades, or a sturdy, properly balanced broom, was the product of practiced, knowing hands. And like so many of the others on this list, these patient handcrafts were ultimately swept aside, almost without notice, by the relentless output of the factory. 11th, the village gunsmith. In an America where a firearm was an everyday tool for hunting, defense, and survival, the local gunsmith was a figure of real importance and remarkable skill. He did not simply sell guns, he built them, and just as often kept them working for decades. He could forge a barrel, hand-fit a lock, carve and shape a stock from a raw block of walnut, and repair the intricate mechanisms that other men depended on with their lives. Each firearm he made was a genuinely custom object, fitted to its owner. The rise of the great factory armories, stamping out thousands of identical, interchangeable guns, slowly erased the individual craftsman and the deep, patient artistry of the village. Gunsmith faded into a rare specialty, practiced by only a devoted few. It is easy to glance at a list like this and see nothing more than a parade of quaint, obsolete old jobs. But it is worth stopping to consider what it truly represents. An entire society once met very nearly all of its needs through skilled human hands. Each one of these trades was a deep well of accumulated knowledge built up over centuries, and each craftsman was a real master of materials and tools that most of us today could barely even imagine using correctly. The throwaway convenience that we now enjoy every single day came at a quiet but very real cost. The slow, steady disappearance of our own basic ability to make, to mend, and to truly understand the physical objects all around us. A few dedicated artisans here and there are keeping some of these old crafts barely alive, like guttering candles. But for the most part, the entire world of the maker, the world in which your great-grandparents could confidently build, repair, and create with their own two hands, has faded gently into memory. And along with it went a particular kind of pride and a particular kind of independence that no factory has ever managed to replace.